we're going to kick off. We'll just go down the panel and each of you just give a bit of an outline of how you farm and what your system is. And then also, a big part of Halter is looking at pasture driving and profitability for farms. And so can you sort of tie in how you're finding and how it's helping you with that as well? So do you want to start, Mr. Tasmania?
Yep. So I'm Troy Ainsley. I manage a 540 cow dairy farm in northern Tasmania near Launceston. Crossbred herd, pasture-based system, feeding around a tonne of grain a cow, doing 500 kilos of milk solids. Fully irrigated farm on a 3.6 stocking rate.
Cool. And do you want to just give us even just with the pasture or just even a quick kind of profitability pasture type? Or is it just so good and too much?
Yes, we've had Halter for 2 years now, and the gains are everywhere. It doesn't matter what aspect you look at, whether it's animal health, pasture, labour efficiencies, the gains are there. Pasture, we're utilising 4% more pasture than what we was, and that's the driver of our business, is the pasture utilisation. So it's a big factor.
Tegan. Thanks, Troy.
Yeah, hey, so I'm Tegan Gray. I farm on the Hauraki Plains. We're a family farm, 500 cows, pasture-based system again. So it's system 3 in the New Zealand system, for those that know. So we're about 12% imported feed, so pasture first. It's about 3. 500 crossbred cows, 3 cows for the hectare.
What about your pasture and we will get into more detail, by the way, but top line, what about improvements around profitability and pasture?
Yes, I think that was the main actual driver for us getting the collars, was the fact that they do the side of things and not just the animal health, which was the real driver that we wanted to focus on. In terms, we already had pretty good pasture utilisation. We're harvesting about 12 tonne per hectare of pasture down the throat. So for us, it was about putting a tool into our toolkit that we can use to manage that pasture quality. And so it's that quality is king for us. And we've been able to make huge improvements in our post-grazing residuals and pasture quality and how the farm hangs on throughout the season.
Thanks. Mr. Sherlock.
Yeah, so on the beef dude on the panel. So we farm in northwest Waikato, about 40 minutes from here. We're 660 hectares of pretty hard hill country. We're early days in our Halter journey, but we're using it to convert our big 10, 20 hectare paddocks into intensive beef systems. So we're seeing huge gains by the use of Halter. So effectively we're stocking that country now at 16 to 18 stock units a hectare versus in our traditional system where it's about 9 to 10. So we're seeing huge gains in being able to farm like these dairy farmers on our hard hills.
But just to add to that, because I know your story well, it's actually also you're able to utilise more land effectively, but also protect, right? So you're actually, I think you're protecting the environment just as much as using it.
100%. That's been the other major game changer from our mindset, is we're suddenly able to exclude livestock out of our waterways, which I never thought I'd be doing in my lifetime. It's just in the bottom of steep gullies, it's bloody prohibitive to fence. Costs are very high. We've now got all cattle, and because they're cattle-only paddocks now, we've got all stock out of those waterways. So we think we're, with the help of Halter, hitting that sweet spot between production and environmental stuff. So that's been really satisfying.
Now, I'll go down the line again. So what made you want to get Halter? What was the driver for getting Halter?
So the business Compass Agri that we work with, we have our farm up the Derwent Valley, in Launceston, and then 5 more down the Derwent Valley. And safety is a big issue on all the farms. Compass really pride himself on every staff member goes home every day. So to not have people in the paddock at 4 o'clock in the morning getting cows in, the ATVs, and in Australia now you've got to have a roll protection system on an ATV, so it's hard to get them, and that was one of the major factors, was the safety side, and then also the just having oversight over everything that you can see at the touch of a button instead of having to do it every week on a piece of paper and then write reports. It's all just in the palm of your hand.
Has that actually helped with, we talked a lot yesterday when we looked at big picture stuff around measure, as the data supported decision making being a little bit more, I guess, precise?
Oh, it has, and it makes you get the data right there, and you just trust the data. From the day my plate meter went out the window, I've never used it since the day we put Halter on, and you just trust it, and because you can monitor it every day, so you do it every 3 days instead of every 7 or 10 for us, yeah.
That's awesome. Tegan, what was the driver for you guys? Like, was there a moment that said, yep, we need it for this, or?
Well, for me, there was a bit of a aha moment. I suppose credit to Halter and probably very good marketing and pushing. I'd watched a video of a friend that had deployed the collars on their farm, and it sort of just got the wheels turning, really, and you'd be driving around the farm, it was calving time, and I was like, oh, if we had Halter, we could do this. If we had Halter, we could do this. It would save us time here, it would save us time there. So we started having the conversation, and I suppose it was the only product on the market that we could see, like, it holistically improved our whole farming system, every aspect of it, from pasture to animal health to people to staff to time management and everything. So I suppose that was our driver. Most people that know me know I'm a real big advocate for that work-life balance. Sports, spending time off farm, pretty good at booking overseas holidays, and it just gave us that transparency of what we're doing. Like, say, plate meter lives in the shed, it hardly ever comes out. You've got that real-time data there, the decision making, you're making your decisions on the go around the farm. You know, you drive past the paddock and you look at the cows and you go, not happy with that decision, or I need to change that decision, and I hardly stopped the motorbike and I've changed the decision, I've changed tactic, and I've probably spent 30 seconds on it, and it hasn't taken time out of my day. I'm still on my way to other tasks.
Yeah. John?
Yeah, for us, a couple of years ago we were in serious strife financially. Sheep and beef farmers, especially ones with plenty of sheep and plenty of debt, were going backwards a couple of years ago. So we were definitely on a bit of a mission to try and have a business to pass on to the next generation. We've been watching the collar technology come down the chute at us 10 years ago, but never thought that we'd be able to use it in our lifetimes. But suddenly, there it was. So effectively, it's the use of Halter for us is basically lifting up to a level of profitability that we've never been able to achieve before. So we're actually basically the stuff we converted last year produced as much live weight per hectare as a top finishing farm in the northern North Island. That's on our hard hill country. So that's a huge step change that we're seeing, which along with the environmental stuff means that we now feel like we've got a really strong business going forward. And if you compare that to where our mindset was 2 years ago, chalk and cheese, because we were going, should this farm be in trees? And that's not a nice thing to swallow, but now we've got a vehicle to take us forward.
And you've been able to integrate, right? So trees played a part, they just didn't take over.
Absolutely. So we've got 150 hectares of really hard country that we're not putting cattle on, and that's in pine trees earning probably more than the rest of the rest of the farm, even with Halter on it, to be fair. For the rest of it, the class 6, the not quite really hard stuff, that's the stuff with the intensive beef powered by Halter, and it's really driving forward.
That's awesome. Now, Troy, before we were talking offline, and I'm not, people are probably going to think that I'm putting words in your mouth, but you
Last
actually...
night or today?
Oh, sorry, today. Not last night.
I was going to say, remember...
Not after 6 beers, no.
Yeah, no.
That's the big ones, no. You literally said it changed your life, and I'm not trying to be cheesy, but can you sort of grow on... I didn't solicit that comment, that came from you.
Yeah.
Talk us through that. How did it change your life?
20 years, I'm 40, 20 years of just slugging it every day, wet, cold, trying to fit sport in, I've got 4 kids, trying to fit that in with life, it was just all getting a bit too much. And then with Halter, it just gives you a new perspective on how to do things and how to do our job. It doesn't do your job, it just helps you do it better. So then you start to see the gains, you get a 1% here, 1% there, and it reinvigorates what you're trying to do. It freed up our work-life balance. I coach local football. I do a lot of stuff with the local...
Is that Aussie rules?
Yeah, Aussie rules, yep. That's only football, isn't it? So, with that, our local school, they do a thing called Cows Create Careers in Australia.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to help the primary school do it, and they ended up third in the nation with their project they done. And I went into the school with Halter and brought up the live app on the TV, and the kids just loved it, being able to see it and really introduce it to the younger generation, our own kids. But it actually gave you the drive again to want to change and adapt with it. And it just changed our life. I'm still married after 20 years now, but it's really changed everything, the way we've done it. The freedom you've got time to go to sport, spend time with the kids. Yeah. Your work-life balance is just fantastic. You come over to New Zealand for 3 days and know what's going on the farm.
And also, I guess it's, what I love when I hear these stories, and, I've heard it from John as well, and Tegan before, is you love farming, right?
Yeah.
And you've got this great passion for it, and you want to keep doing it, and you want to find a way that supports you to keep doing it. And I keep hearing that Halter's actually doing that.
Yeah, it's actually the new banner up on the top there, hold a farm the way you've always wanted. It's for us, it's live the way you've always wanted. Because now we've been able to enjoy that life that we've seen people having that wasn't farmers. We can have the time off, we can do this, and we're still actually doing the job that we love to do. It's great.
So Tegan, you said before, you're a passionate advocate for work-life balance. Is this, or balance in general in life, has this really triggered that for you?
Yeah.
Or enabled it, sorry, there's a better word.
Yeah, definitely enabled it. I mean, who's a dairy farmer that's taken time off in calving before? And I took a month off. And I had a system at home that I knew I could leave, I could set up, the targets were in there, the plan was in there. The staff member just had to go on and, draw the breaks. It tells you when he's allocated too much, where he's at, all that. And I was able to set that up, and then I was able to come home after a month and just step back into the business the next day like I'd never been away. What was happening with the pasture, what was out there. You could see the parts of the farm where the grass was. I didn't have to go do a full pasture walk to get back into the swing of things. I was just able to come back. It really is a game changer in that sense.
Yeah. And look, John, I mean, you've talked through how it changed holistically too, but when you talk about that profitability you've never seen, and I know life's more than profit, but life costs money, and we can't, unfortunately, you can't buy groceries with that. It's, ultimately those gains, does that actually help you too feel a lot more positive and focused on systems and change?
100%. Troy nailed a whole new enthusiasm for the whole thing, right? And which for a sheep and beef, totally viewing your farm completely differently. But the profit thing, we were generating at least twice as much profit off that one bit of trial land we did it on, and now we're expanding that to 120 hectares this year. So to be fair, I haven't quite nailed the work-life balance just with that change happening at the moment. There's lots of stuff happening at home. But we're doing that expansion without employing extra labour. So we're going to have 500 extra cattle on without extra labour, and the big part of that is we haven't got people going around the hill to shift them. So that's the from a hill country farmer's practical point of view, that they get shifted automatically because there's 8-9 mobs around the farm. They're getting shifted automatically. And so rather than 2-day shifts having to drive around the hills, there's health and safety issues. Yeah. You actually have to walk to the bottom of gullies to let them through electric fences if we're doing this by fence. So it's game changing in terms of that productivity around staff for sure.
And look, John, I'll sit with you and work back this way. Was there anything that you expected to be hard, or anything that you thought, shit, this is going to be tough, but then it wasn't that bad?
I'd say that's everything.
Yep.
With Halter, probably. I thought, without really thinking of knowing what to expect, right? You don't really know. You think that the putting up the towers is going to be a big mission. That's not. It's a couple of hours at best to get a tower up. And that was a holy shit moment for us. I had my son back from university. We put up a couple of towers in an afternoon, and we'd effectively fenced up hard hill country really intensively for 12 grand. It's like, wow, shit, this is technology at play, because that would have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that on the hill, basically undoable. So so both the towers, the collaring up and training, and only we were moving twice a day these little 200 kg Frisian bulls, twice a day for 3 days, and they're done. They're out on the hill.
Yep.
Like, I thought that was going to be one of the tricky bits. Is it worth, like with a dairy cow, that you train them up once in their life, and so the investment in that time is a lot better. I thought it might be a bit niggly around that, but 3 days to train them up, they're going to be on your place for 9 months. It's just nothing.
And that 3 days, you were probably trying to come to terms with how to use it and work it, so you were training yourself.
Yeah, 100. So no, I think everything has been much. And that's the thing about watching the cattle train up. The cues are just so natural for them and so consistent that it's so quick for them. Like an electric fence, if they're learning that, electric fence can look totally different depending on what, if it's attached to a conventional fence or one wire. Well, this is just every time they're getting exactly the same cue, so it's really quick. Which is awesome.
And it's quite natural, isn't it? That's what I love. It feels like, look, I'm not a cow expert, but I always feel like there's something quite natural to the fact that they're not rushed, and it's kind of, and especially for you guys with steep gullies, anything like that, they're then going at their pace. They're not going at you, kind of standing behind them.
That's been an awesome thing, because we started doing it with these intensive beef systems with single wires on the hill, right? So we just did our toes in the water and did 20 hectares like that last winter, and effectively, when the cue for them to be moved is me arriving on the quad bike, and on a hill, if they're shifting through the bottom, they're coming down at me, and that's never a nice sight when a bit of the hill's coming down with them, right? But sitting from the kitchen table and just watching them move across when I drop the thing, that is, to me, that's way more natural a place for them to be. In the end, we're putting them in a cell which has got all the feed they need, all the water they need, and we drop the brake and they go to the next one and they've got everything there they need, and they're not walking all over the paddock causing environmental stuff and burning energy. They're just moving across the paddock, getting everything they need.
Pete Morgan yesterday described it as, we had systems and we made cows or cattle fit within them, and now they're the centre, and you get the system to fit within them. Any thoughts around that, Tegan, with your place?
Yeah, but adding to what he said, I think our best thing was when we put the collars on and we're collaring, our rep said to us, I suppose, like, how much do you trust the product? And I suppose we decided that day, we're like, wow, it's a pretty hefty investment. I suppose we should trust the product 100%.
Yeah.
And I suppose from day one, we decided to trust that product 100%. And we were just amazed. It was super easy. I genuinely, hand on heart, believe I have happier cows. Much more settled, much happier. They're far easier to manage. And I think you know your cows better. And I think that I would, if I had to go sit behind them multiple times a day on a motorbike, shifting them. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you get the chance to know them, don't you? You can actually sit, observe. You're not like having to, it's not functional. The function is checking they're okay. The function isn't getting them from A to B.
I think, because it changes that dynamic where the decisions about your pasture management and looking at your paddocks are so easy. It frees up that time that when I go past, instead of think of a million other things, I take the time and I look at the cows, and you actually see what they're doing, and you sort of learn, because who your bossy, stroppy, real dominant ones are. That I think everyone's got them. A couple that know how to play the Halter system, that can play it pretty well to their advantage, and your quiet ones, and Yeah, I think it's just been a game changer for us. Like I farm real heavy marine clay soils, so we're super wet. So the tools it's given me in my toolbox to manage, I mean, on a wet day, you'd let your cows over in the morning and you just didn't go near them for the rest of the day. You knew that if you were unsure if you were going near those cows, you were standing them off or you were having to change your plan. The fact I can go check them in the middle of the afternoon and they don't care that I'm there has just, like, the improvements in our pasture, like the reduction in damage to the soils on the farm over winter have just been outstanding.
Troy, have you anything to add to that? Or?
The cows, the biggest thing for us to get over was actually us, to adapt the system and actually trust the system to do it. Whether it's just a time when we got rid of the right cow with a high cell count, our cell count's never been lower since we put the product on. We actually haven't bought wet weather gear for 2 years because if you have a crappy day, like no one's getting out the cows at 5:15 in the morning, -5 frost in Tassie this time of year.
Oh geez, I didn't know you got frost over there.
Yes, and so no one's getting the cows in. So once the cows are at the dairy, we finish milking. If it's raining, if it's not an important job, it'll wait till tomorrow. But it's training yourself to know that. So after a couple of days, you might get on the pressure cleaner or something like that. But a lot of stuff can wait till the next day because the important stuff's done with Halter.
Yeah. Is there any audience questions? Like, is anyone who's thinking about it? I'm not. I have 10 acres actually, so I'm obviously not a farmer. If you actually see my animals, you'd know I'm not. But is there anyone that's thinking about getting it that wants to understand a more intimate question around how it's working? Anyone? No? Okay. We have got one? No? We're just going to get a heckler from the back there? You can heckle, that's cool. Friendly heckling.
What's that? Yeah.
The question was, how's John gone with the wet weather overnight?
Yeah, we just, not last night, the night before, we had 60 mils of rain with cattle in cells on steep hill country, right? So getting up in the morning and going, this is a bit of a nervous ride round just to see how it goes, because we're early days, right? But it was amazing. There was very little damage. Everyone was happy in their cells. It was very good. And that's the other thing that you have in terms of tools in the toolkit around that environmental stuff. Like that night when it did start pissing down, I knew the ones that were going to be shifted in the morning, so they were on lower cover. So I just boosted them on and got them shifted onto good cover, because cover's your friend in that situation. So it's those tools that allow us to do some shit that we never thought we'd be able to do on hill country.
Yeah. And so have you got any tips, Troy, for anyone thinking about it?
Just do it.
Yeah.
Look, if we can just
mic
do
drop.
it. Yeah. I know a lot of people focus on the cost and everything, but it's actually not the cost that's going out, it's what actually brings back in. If you gain 1% on a lot of different things, it makes a huge difference to your business. We drive a pretty strong, profitable business in Tasmania, and Halter's just actually let us take that to the next level. It's just talk to your rep. Really do the numbers and make sure it is for you. And just if you do decide to do it, though, have full faith in it.
Yeah.
Just trust it.
And I guess, there's always someone who'll be like, but you're not talking about the tough stuff. Should we have a bit of a chat? What were there any sort of, and look, this is natural, right, with any new product. This isn't a Halter thing, this is a new product thing, but were there any kind of challenges that you had to overcome?
As in?
When you set it up, when you first had them, were there any sort of unexpected challenges or?
No, the biggest challenge is your own mindset. You don't have to go and get the cows every day. So what do you do with that free time?
In our situation, human collars, don't we, to get mindsets better?
Yeah, in our situation, July, August, September last year, we cut 400 hours out of a team of 3. Simply not by sitting with 5 herds of cows while we're calving, not having to sit behind cows getting big. That's huge. It's massive.
That's awesome. It's massive.
Yeah.
Tegan, any kind of challenges and any tips?
Yeah, I think exactly what Troy said. I don't feel we had any major challenges. I think, and I've said hats off to the team at Halter. I don't think we've had any hiccups. Have just been dealt with. so quickly, amazingly. Our collaring process, the deployment, the training of the cows, the support was second to none. There were no issues. I think, just do it and commit. I think that's the big thing. Don't second guess the product.
Oh, look, I totally agree. Challenges probably mainly us getting to learn it. But if you trust it, it works. That's the thing. That's, I suppose, going into it. It's like you're always thinking, is this going to work? But that's our learnings. The tech works. It's easy. It's good to use. Take that off the table, and now it's just focusing on trying to get the value out of it, because it is the cost, right? Like if it was half the cost, everyone would be doing it right now. It would be an absolute no-brainer. But I think even where the cost is right now, our calculations say if we can get an extra half a bull to the hectare on the hill through better past utilisation and growing more, and we save half a labour unit, which I think is conservative, then we're paid for Halter. And that's amazing, because for hill country New Zealand, there's plenty of hill country, class 6 hill country in New Zealand. I think that's really exciting, the opportunities for the industry. Like we're focused on ourselves, right? But the opportunities for other farmers in the industry in general, which has generally, that hill country has generally struggled to be profitable through the long term. It goes through periods where it's very profitable, but it goes through periods where you're going backwards. And so that's not sustainable.
No.
And it's a huge opportunity for other farmers and hill country farmers here.
And that's the thing, right? Well, is you can't keep the same system, can you? You can't just be, you've got to be evolving. You've got to be thinking, man, John, your journey has been incredible, and you're converting more. So, past your next conversion, have you got a further thing that you're going to use Halter for as well?
Yeah, we're very much just focused on what's in front of us at the moment. But we due to going backwards for a few years there, we actually sold another farm and cleared some debt to get the base solid of our business. But now we see huge opportunities in terms of some of that hill country now that I look at totally differently, right? And go, wow, there's some good opportunities there from a business growth point of view for us. Yeah.
Tegan, what's sort of next on the horizon with Halter for you?
Yeah, I think in terms of my own journey, it allows me, so I'm passionate about like the leadership and governance side of our industry as well, and it's going to allow me to do that. So my short-term goal is buying the herd, getting that debt under control, and then once that debt's under control, being able to have those opportunities to look for off-farm income as well.
And Troy, what's the next kind of, are your kids winning their football that you're coaching?
2 of them, but the one that I coach doesn't. That's
okay. Soft bad point to bring up there. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do a little bit better there. So actually, it might give me a bit more time.
Yeah, maybe that's one of your goals.
Coaching. As a business with all the farms involved, we're looking at what some farms do better than others and what areas they've really improved, and see if we can do that across the others. Simply like back fencing, being able to back fence our cows on some of the properties. Why can't we on the others?
Yeah.
We're spreading the natural fertility across the whole paddock then, not just in the front. So it might mean development with extra water troughs and what that's going to cost for what we're going to gain. Really looking at the numbers with our heat maps and everything that's provided for our the ground fertility. Variable rate spreading of fertiliser, 30% reduction in fertiliser costs there. Just sort of driving that sort of stuff across the whole business.
And I guess that'll keep evolving, right? Like all of you will keep looking at ways that you can do different things.
Well, as beef farmers, we've just got virtual fencing in our product at the moment. So we're very jealous of the past utilisation stuff, and we're getting huge gains without that. But then that's what we're looking at next is how much extra gain can we get on top of that if we really manage our residuals well and, learn off these dairy farmers about how to bloody grow grass and put it down, convert it into live weight, basically. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, have we got any questions? I just want to double check. Oh.
Thank you, mate. Working all right?
Bit louder.
Thank you. Hey, maybe not so much a question, but more a comment, and I'll just make a bit of a disclaimer. We're the farm owner for Tegan's farm, so a bit of illustration there, but just a couple of comments, and I might just add, I think one of the questions you talked about was how quickly your cows, or you learned it. We collared our cows in February of the year, and we were grazing summer crops, grazing turnips at the time. And without a word of a lie, and a lot of people could probably relate to this, we had cows. Sorry, we had cows. That's better. We had cows that were respecting the Halter collars within 2 days on a turnip crop, and that was, to me, was just a real game changer. We can allocate our turnip crop so accurately. We know that if we want our turnip crop to last 40 days, it will last 40 days, and we know we'll never have the cows break over the electric fence and be chasing them around the turnip crop. So, hey, real game changer. And the other comment about trusting the technology is a huge one. Went into our first mating season, so we'd only had the collars on for about 6 months, and I remember very well that the day Tegan says to me, coming up to mating, do you think we should tail paint our cows? And I said, no. And she looked at me and said, what? I said, no. I said, let's trust the technology. And that was the best thing we ever did. And I don't ever miss tail painting cows. And the information we get on our heat detection and reproduction through the collars is just second to none. So, it's just that mindset. You've got to trust the product, and it's a fantastic product.
That's awesome. And I love that messaging around mindset. Back again to, it's actually more about training your own mind than it is about training the animals, and I think we forget that sometimes. Now, excuse me. Any last, sorry about that, but any last kind of comments before we wrap up from you guys? Anything you sort of think we haven't covered that you think people should know?
For us, it's just a product that does everything.
Yeah.
It does the pasture, the animal health, reproduction. The way it can fast forward your team, like you just mentioned, we had a staff member that had been there for 2 months, greenhorn 2 months, mating, red flashing collar, pull her out. You didn't spend years trying to teach them all that stuff, but definitely I reckon every business should look at where it can fit in, because there is room for it in every business, I reckon.
I think the same. I think time and time again you hear, and it's an expensive product, but look beyond the cost of the product and actually your farm, your system. What are your goals? What do you want to achieve, and how the product can actually help you? And look at it at that level more than just what it's going to cost you.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree with that, because we actually won the free Halter for a year competition last year, and we before we won that, we checked Halter out and went, no, I think we'll just do it with electric wires. Just felt, that hot. So I totally relate to the cost thing, because it was mainly a cost thing. Now I've done it for a year, I'm going, absolutely, I'm paying for this. Like, it's a no-brainer.
Just scan the damn barcode if you want to win something. What is it? QR code. God, my age. Scan the barcode there. Look, these guys are going to be here, so if anyone was a bit shy, they want to have a one-on-one chat, please come and talk with them, because I think it is important. Farmers, you learn from farmers, right? And you learn from other people. And I think we get more empowerment, the more people can talk about it. And everyone's going to have a different experience around what works for their farm, and I think the more we can share, the better. So please, a round of applause for our amazing panel. And just honestly, come and chat with them and have an amazing day. Stay out of the rain where you can.